10 a.m. Great to be with you for the next hour here on 11Alive Plus from the Streaming Center. Shaping up to be a very busy morning. We're watching quite a bit of news, including the State Election Board meeting for the first time since that FBI raid at Fulton County Elections Office. The Colin Gray trial is in its third day of testimony. More than 30 witnesses have been called, and an assistant principal is on the stand right now. And Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport, live look there right now, where a plane has landed from Houston after originally taking off and then having to make an emergency landing because of an unruly passenger. We have some exclusive arrest video of the man believed to be involved in that incident that you will see a little later on in the show. But first, let's talk about the day ahead weather-wise. Meteorologist Chester McNeil standing by, and hope you were able to get out and enjoy the sunshine and the warmth yesterday.
Oh, yeah. Day before that was nice as well, but now, well, it's still going to be warm.
You okay?
But the clouds are taking over.
Yeah.
Man. Those pesky clouds we keep talking about, right? They're coming back into the forecast area, folks. They'll be around pretty much through the day. We may see a sliver of sunshine or two, but that's about all we'll muster up. But it's still going to be mild, so that's the good news. If you want to wear that tank top, well, maybe a T-shirt. If you want to wear a T-shirt, yeah, you can do that. Tank top, too. Some people will do it. Temperature's getting up to 69 degrees for an afternoon high temperature today. It's going to be a nice one out there. Take a look. The clouds are not only over us, but around the southeast today. Mostly cloudy skies will be the call. There is a little bit of light rain up there in the Memphis area. I don't think it makes it over here. We have a 10% chance or less for a shower, so it's possible, but a lot of us just won't see it. We're tracking a front as well. That front won't make it here. High pressure too strong. That's going to dissipate before it even arrives. We got another front that's going to bring in some changes. That will bring the rain. Better chance for it as we head toward the weekend, and also some colder air will be coming down our way. We got the mild air over us now, so we'll hold on to that. And then that warm air comes in by tomorrow. We're looking at 76 for an afternoon high temperature for you Thursday, 75 on Friday. You notice that blue getting a little bit closer. We'll hit 70 on Saturday, and then, yep, the blue comes right on in. So by Sunday, you're going to feel the difference. The good news there is that by the time that colder air starts to move in, all the precipitation is gone. So that's good, right? We'll have the sunshine around on Sunday, but it will be colder, much colder even on Monday. Looking like temperatures in the 40s for highs. So, yeah, cold air is coming back, folks. We'll gradually see the increase in shower activity. 20% chance on Thursday, 40% chance by Friday. Saturday, we're up to a 70% chance for that rain to be around. Again, we'll clear it out just in time for Sunday. Here's how it plays out. Forecast track model shows that little 10% chance. That's all we'll muster up. Tomorrow morning, we'll start off in the North Georgia mountains with a few scattered showers. That'll make its way down toward the metro area, but also notice how the clouds break up as we head into the afternoon. That's not going to last. Clouds come right back to us. And so we'll start off Friday the same way with a few scattered showers around the area. We'll catch a brief break by the afternoon. Then the clouds come right back to us. We'll be looking at some scattered showers off and on as we head into Saturday as well. That's where we could see a thunderstorm or two thanks to a front that's going to push through our area. We're looking at temperatures in the mid-70s for Thursday, Friday, but down to the 50s by Sunday, 47 to start off the work week as kids go back to school, we go back to work, and 53 degrees by Tuesday of next week. So there you have it.
That's all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely not tank top weather this week.
No, don't do that. Don't do that. Hey, real quick before I go.
Yes.
I was walking, and forgive me if I'm late on this. I'm probably late. But I was walking around the hallway, and I saw on a board, it said, Employee of the Quarter.
How about that? I saw
that
that for
AI
the first time.
or?
This is a real deal.
Really?
And I got to give a shout out. He's not going to pull it up himself. Where is he, folks? Reams
Get him in
Landreth.
there.
Here he is.
Yeah.
Our
Right
esteemed
there.
producer. Well deserved.
Employee of the Quarter. What did you do? Who did you pay to get that?
You got to pay someone, right?
You get a free parking spot or something.
Yeah,
right?
I got that first spot.
Oh, look at that.
At the door that I don't usually walk through, so got to walk through a new door now.
Our Employee of the Quarter, right there.
We're proud of you,
Yeah,
Reams,
yeah.
and we are so
Well
grateful to
deserved.
have
Well
you here
deserved.
on the stream. He
Yeah.
does a heck of a job for us every day. All right, Chesley, thanks.
No problem.
Hey, let's get on to some other news of the morning, and let's get back to that breaking news we're following out of the airport this morning. A plane has landed just about 20 minutes ago at Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport from Houston, where they encountered some problems earlier today. It was about 5:30 this morning. People, a lot of them trying to get back home to Atlanta. Maybe they were here for business meetings or just for pleasure, but they were trying to get to Atlanta irregardless. 85 people on board plus 5 crew members when apparently somebody was unruly and unlawful. That's Delta's words when it comes to this customer on board. They say we can confirm that the customer approached crew and customers but did not make contact with or attempt to access the flight deck. That word coming in after it was originally rumored that he may have tried to get into the cockpit You're taking a look at that Boeing 717 right now, taking off earlier this morning from Houston. This was after it had to make that emergency landing, after that person was met by law enforcement, taken off the plane, and taken into custody. You can imagine he is being questioned right now. In fact, this is some exclusive video shot by KHOU 11 News, our sister station there in Houston, showing a man believed to be involved in that incident being led from the Hobby Airport in handcuffs. We're blurring his face because at this point police have not publicly identified him, and it's unclear if charges will be filed. A lot of questions to come out of this one, including what exactly went down on this plane this morning that resulted in at least one person in custody, taken off the plane, an emergency landing, and just a headache for people trying to get back here to Atlanta this morning. All right, it is a busy morning here from the streaming center. We are also following that state election board meeting happening right now. It's the first one since the Fulton County raid at the state election, or the county election office down here by the FBI a few weeks ago. Also on the stand right now in the Colin Gray trial, it appears to be an officer, perhaps with Barrow County. Let's listen in for a little bit, as this is some new testimony we're hearing from Officer Boyd.
Hard to establish relationships within the school, mentoring, working with students and staff, helping them with issues, not just in a law enforcement capacity, but doing community-oriented policing.
Generally, how many school resource officers are assigned to each school?
So each high school has 2, and we are currently in the process of getting one in every middle and every elementary school. Prior to that, and even right now, we have a few middle and elementaries that share one SRO, and they go back and forth, and we actually have a set of elementary schools where the SRO goes back and forth. But at present, both high schools have 2 SROs assigned to them.
And generally, are you assigned to a particular school?
Not typically. We as the supervisors will fill in when an SRO is out sick or in training and that kind of thing, so there's not a gap. Or we'll go and check in at the school. But we're typically not assigned to a school per se.
Back in September of 2024, were you in your same role as sergeant over the school resource officers?
Yes, ma'am. So in 2024, at that time, I was a sergeant, and I was actually helping fill in at the Barrow Arts and Science Academy, which is one of our high schools.
Okay. Is that also known as BASA?
Yes, ma'am.
And in addition to filling in as a school resource officer at BASA, did you still go around to other schools?
Yes, ma'am.
I am going to draw your attention to September 4th. Did you go to Appalachia High School that day?
Yes, ma'am.
And were you, at that point, temporarily assigned to BASA as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What brought you to Appalachia that day?
So that morning I was actually going to meet with one of my police explorers to give him a Bible. He participated in a Bible study that we do on Thursday nights, and he didn't have one at that time, so I was bringing him one. I actually went to the ROTC bay and dropped it off there, and I was also going to, while I was there, check in on the 2 SROs assigned there.
And what is the Police Explorers?
So the Police Explorers is through the Boy Scouts of America, or Scouting as it's known today, and it is a program for students and juveniles between the ages of 14 and 21 who have an interest in law enforcement. They can learn from us, and we do it once a week in a like training type capacity.
And so you indicated that you went to the ROTC office to drop that off. Can we pull up the full map? And I'll just have you, if you could look and tell us where on there the ROTC is.
Oh, goodness.
There should be a pointer up there after you kind of orient yourself.
Yeah, sorry. It's weird to see it in this format versus walking through. Use this? Yes, sir. Okay. All right. Just for the record, is this 3.2?
This is 3.1 for the record.
Right. Sorry. Oh gosh. So the ROTC bay is going to be right in here, I believe, if I'm looking at this correctly.
And do you remember approximately what time you got to the school that morning?
If I had to guess, it was somewhere between like 9:45, 9:50-ish, maybe.
And you indicated you wanted to check in on your two SROs who were assigned to that school. Who was assigned to the school at that time?
Deputy King and Deputy Matherly.
After dropping off the Bible at the ROTC bay, what did you do?
As I recall, I went back to the atrium. Do you want me to point?
Yes,
that?
yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. So at that point, I went to the atrium here, and I ended up meeting with Deputy King. He was briefing me a little bit about a potential issue at the school, and we were also discussing, as I said, we do Bible study on Thursday night, so we were actually standing there talking about what that topic was going to be.
So you and Deputy King.
That is one of the hero school resource officers from that day at Appalachia High School who, look, he likely saved countless lives. Deputy Boyd alongside Sergeant King, two are SROs at that school. I actually did a story on them, excuse me, a few months ago as they were set to receive the Award of Valor from the National Association of School Resource Officers. You can find this on our website right now. It says the deputies Boyd and King ran toward the gunfire and quickly confronted the shooter, ordering him to drop the weapon. Look, they saved lives. There's no doubt about it. And he's likely to get into that with some of his testimony right now. You can watch that for yourself on the 11Alive Plus app by scrolling down and then over to hear more from this gentleman here, Deputy King, and then Deputy Boyd, rather, and then Sergeant King also likely to testify shortly thereafter. That photo was when they received the Award of Valor from the Georgia Sheriff's Association as well. So some well-deserved recognition, but we cannot tip our hats to those two enough. We're back in just a couple minutes. You're watching 11Alive Plus. Good Wednesday morning, everybody. Let's talk about how you get to work. The 2025 Regional Commuter Survey is out, providing some key insights into how people around Metro Atlanta, specifically the 20-county area around Atlanta, travels to work and how those patterns evolve over time. Let's dig into this some more. We have Johan Weber joining us there on the left and Casey Sloan on the right from the Atlanta Regional Commission. Good morning to you both. Thank you for your time.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
So what are your biggest takeaways from this year's survey?
The biggest takeaways are that, compared to 2019, we've seen that, during the pandemic, obviously everybody was teleworking. Telework went way up. But, compared to pre-pandemic levels, we've seen that in 2025, telework is actually remaining pretty high. So back in 2019, we saw about 43% of workers were teleworking, at least occasionally. And that has now gone up to 60%. So 60% of workers are teleworking, whether occasional or full time. But probably more significantly, we saw that the percent of workers who are full time teleworking, so they're working from home every day, they're not commuting, has gone up from 6% in 2019 to 20% in 2025. So right now, 1 in 5 workers are full time work from home and not commuting at all.
Wow. And what have you seen with that number in recent years? I mean, take me back to 2020 era when I imagine that was maybe closer to 100. And then has it just been gradually been going down year by year?
Well, this is the first time we've done the regional commuter survey since 2019. So we're not taking this, we're not gauging that year after year, but we've definitely seen, I think everyone's seen, yes, we finally determined this was the time in late 2024 to do that. And so that, we did the commuter survey early 2025. So we have seen anecdotally return to office. It's been pretty steadily happening. But I think that this shows that this is sort of a new normal. This pattern of telework's here to stay. We'll probably see a continued return to office, but I think these general levels of teleworking are going to remain. We've also saw that and part-time workers. They're relatively small increases from 2019, but still significant. So that sort of supports other data we're seeing that the peak period traffic is just kind of spread more throughout the day now. So those peak times have gone down a little bit, but you're going to see traffic just kind of throughout the day.
Our traffic reporter, Doug Turnbull, here nodding in agreement. He covers traffic here and has for decades. I mean, that's something you see too, Doug.
Well, yeah, as we had more options, as commutes became less regular, which I think was a big punchline of this study, right? That the midday traffic with people being at home and maybe able to be more flexible to run errands has gone up. And certainly there are just more people heading into the region. And I wanted to ask about another pattern. I just quickly glanced at the survey there, guys, but is that alternative forms of transportation are down. I would assume that means like public transit and carpooling. And I know you all have big partnerships with the ATL, the overall mass transit organization in Atlanta, and of course MARTA falls under that, and with Georgia Commute Options, which promotes carpooling. So can you speak to how people are viewing anything other than riding by themselves in a car?
Yeah, it's definitely evolved to reflect that we have fewer folks whose primary mode is transit, whether that's bus, rail, commuter bus. Carpooling is significantly down over it was in 2019. We have experienced, and ridership data, of course, supports also that transit is down. At Georgia Commute Options, which is the program that I'm part of the team for, we have noticed that we have had less carpooling activity than we have had pre-COVID. We have seen that starting to rise over the last couple of years. With that trend, back towards more in-office work, we are seeing, transit ridership coming. We are seeing carpool interest coming back up. They're not quite at the same level that we're seeing, other data. Their, commute data seems to suggest that they're just not recovered quite as quickly. And we think a lot of that is, if you were shifting into, coming in a couple days a week and traffic is very light, and, there's other contexts around, whether that's, public health, concerns, or a variety of other things. Your schedules are more flexible. There are lots of reasons that folks were defaulting into driving. When perhaps pre-COVID, there were reasons, more compelling reasons, especially with congestion, not to that. Well, now as congestion is coming back, we are seeing more interest, having more conversations with employers, and more interest from commuters in some of those other options.
Interesting.
Hey, you also found an equity gap in telework access. And I'm just curious to know how you think cities should be interpreting that when it comes to maybe transportation planning down the road.
We actually, we had a little hiccup in the feed there. Could you repeat that question?
Just asking about some of the findings when it comes to equity gaps and telework access. And just curious to know how you think cities should be interpreting that and using it for transportation planning.
That's such a big question. Yeah, I'm sure our whole transportation planning department would have interesting takes on it. From our perspective, in terms of thinking about how to support commuters programming wise across the region, we view it as certainly not everyone has the opportunity to be working remotely part-time, much less those folks who are working remotely full-time. Their experience with commuting is going to be very different than those folks who are commuting to a job 5 days a week on a pretty rigid schedule. But when we think about the services and offerings for folks who are commuting every day, the need is every bit what it was in 2019 and years prior. From our program perspective, we're very attentive to how are we supporting folks across the region with commuting. If you work at at a manufacturing facility, a logistics facility, we are certainly trying to make sure that there are as many tools and services, particularly engaging with employers, as we can. Obviously, it's a process, and particularly bringing employers to the table is one of the more challenging parts of our work. But it's also the area that we are really excited about and hopeful as commuting and traffic kind of is back as one of the priority topics, as we've seen in the Metro Atlanta Speaks data. That's another one of ARC's data collection projects. We see that need and that interest, and we hope to continue to support it.
As we wrap up, guys, I wanted to ask, you mentioned employers. That as I've talked to your team at Georgia Commute Options before, and that's always been a big partnership. How do we get employers to work with each other, work with employees to encourage carpooling and incentivize it within their own campuses? And then we saw this novel thing during COVID, teleworking, and it seems like a lot of employers are going the opposite way of that and demanding not just some work in the office, but all 5 days or 7 days a week. So what would be a statement you would make to employers if they were trying to help with traffic and to help with these options? Or what's a place that they could go to maybe network and learn more about how to, I guess, help the whole ecosystem of the commute?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it is, anything they do does help the kind of broader, regional, but frankly, it also really helps them. Having some programs, having some services at your work site has really big impacts on recruitment, retention, job satisfaction. We see that in this same data that one of the major factors that folks identify for those folks who changed work locations in the last year was length of commute. In fact, it came up above some of the other things that frankly I probably would have hypothesized would show up as primary motivations. So we know commuting is a big piece of it. If you're an employer, there are a lot of things that you can do that are not really that complicated, like to implement. Have a transit program if you are in an area that is served by commuter bus or local bus or MARTA rail. That is not an insignificant part of the proportion of the region, especially when we think about employment centers. So setting something up where employees can buy passes free pre-tax does not cost very much to administer at all, and there's no direct cost, and employees just save some money right away. You can buy passes through MARTA and get additional discounts. We can help them set that up. they can take further steps. Setting up carpool program, excuse me, is also something that, we are there to work with employers on. So we always just encourage folks, go to gacommuteoptions.com, that you'll see an employer section, reach out to members of our team. Our services are provided at no cost, funded by GDOT and the Atlanta Regional Commission. So we just encourage folks, if commuting is something that you hear complaints about, that you view as a challenge or a concern, don't miss out on the opportunity to do something about it. And that's what we're here for.
Thank you both for your time.
Yes.
I can tell a whole lot of work went into this survey. There's a reason it is not done every year. So thank you for taking the time out of your day to explain a little more about it. Have a good one.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
All right. We're going to keep Doug here because, Doug, you switching gears a bit here. You have a really meaningful story here that I want to share with our audience today. It's about a family who lost their son in a drunk driving crash 10 years ago. I can't even imagine the pain that they are still living with, but they are turning that pain into purpose.
That's correct. And I first learned about the Lutzy 43 Foundation about 4 years ago, and have been now since then, I think, to three, including the one I went to a week ago, 3 of their safe driving summits. So Philip Lutzenkirchen was a standout tight end at Auburn University and died in a drunk driving crash, and frankly a crash in which he was misbehaving and he was thrown from a vehicle. So there's an overall message about vehicle safety that they want to share. And I got to talk with Mike Lutzenkirchen, his father, and some others at a recent summit in Milton. Philip Lutzenkirchen was a standout tight end at Auburn when he died in a truck that was speeding and ran off a road. Everyone was drunk, and the only survivor was the one wearing a seatbelt.
And quite frankly, he lost his life due to poor decisions. And we'd never shy away from that. We're going to share that with these kids because, quite frankly, he wasn't that much older than the seniors that are going to be in this audience.
Mike Lutzenkirchen and his family founded the Lutzy 43 Foundation, inspired by Philip's life supporting children with special needs and being a great teammate. The name comes from his nickname and his jersey number.
He lived an incredibly short life. He gave his life to serve kids that were born with challenges.
200 students attended the St. Francis High Summit, where they saw what crash trauma surgery looks like and went to breakout sessions with law enforcement and a rehab center. Students also learned about 43 key seconds, a time that drivers should pause and make sure they're sober, buckled up, and undistracted. And at the end, students got keys with the Auburn stylized number 43 as a reminder.
So we addressed the human behavior element of this.
The foundation's already reached nearly 24,000 kids and awarded nearly $500,000 in scholarships. They also just launched a partnership with the Governor's Office of Highway Safety to do more summits focusing on 4 major behaviors: speeding, seat belts, inebriation, and distractions.
That cell phone has got us in trouble. And a lot of people think it's on the cell phone, but you can eat. Anytime that you take your eyes off the roadway or take your hand off the steering wheel, you're distracted.
Raines was the commander on duty where Lutzenkirchen died, and he spoke to the family that fateful 2014 day. That began a years-long dialogue that's turned into a growing safety campaign to change behavior and save lives. Doug Turnbull, 11Alive News. And they're actually going to do, that was the first of 9 summits they're doing this year. They've done 34 total. They've reached over 24,000 students and have done about $500,000 in scholarships, we said in the story there. One interesting fact that it was tough to fit it directly to the narrative of the story, but just something that parents you're watching, or maybe there's some teens that are watching your parents watching. A trauma surgeon from Wellstar was at this event, and they did that simulated trauma there with a real student lying on the table, by the way. And that surgeon said that almost half of the cases he sees are not just in moving collisions like the one that happened to Philip Lutzenkirchen, but from kids that are standing or sitting in the back of pickup truck beds or in Jeeps,
Wow.
and then the vehicle takes off and they go flying out.
Wow, no kidding.
So we always think of one kind of crash, but there are a lot of other things to consider when kids are just hanging out. And we've all been there, okay? Let's face it.
I mean, I have an image that still sticks in my mind from my very first market doing a story with the Tennessee Highway Patrol. And they had a vehicle that they were rolling over to simulate a rollover and what would happen. And they put a dummy in the seat without a seatbelt and a dummy in the seat with a seatbelt. And they start rolling it, and then it gets faster and faster and faster. And you see, once it starts going more than 30 miles per hour, what happens to the dummy without the seatbelt?
The speed is such a key factor. Of course, the seatbelts too, but I did a story with, may have talked about it in here or just before the streaming center started, but a story about just what can change after 35 miles an hour, basically, and how much more severe it gets. So just a lot to remember. Again, their 4 pillars there are speed, distraction, inebriation, and being buckled up.
All right.
something to watch.
Appreciate that story. Hey, look, you're a big racing fan. I got to ask
Guilty.
you, 25 years later,
Yeah.
we lost Dale Earnhardt. Can you believe it's been that long?
I can't, and that literally February 18th, 2001 was the first race I watched and paid attention to. There was a brand new TV package in NASCAR, so it was on Fox at that time. It was on a lot of main channels and not just on cable. And I just got locked in, and it was the last lap of the Daytona 500. He crashed head on in the wall while the two cars he owned were leading the race, including one driven by his son, who finished second. And interesting, there are many ties to Atlanta that Dale Earnhardt had, including being one of the most successful drivers ever at Atlanta Motor Speedway, now called Echo Park Speedway. But also, there were two different safety devices that NASCAR implemented that drivers could put on their head and necks, and that they made mandatory later that year in 2001. And one of them is called the Hans, the head and neck restraint system. And this guy, Jim Downing, and his brother-in-law that worked at General Motors developed it. Downing Racing is in downtown Chamblee in this nondescript building that looks like it's still frozen in 1985 that they run sports car teams out of. Okay, it's crazy. And that's where the Hans was sold.
Wow.
And they got flooded with Hans requests that first week, February 18th to 25th, leading up to the next race at Rockingham in 2001. And it was all right here in Atlanta.
It's still there?
Still there. I went there on the 20th anniversary, so 5 years ago. I did a story in my Gridlock Guy column about Downing Racing and how a racing safety innovation thing happened right here.
Man, I was just a kid. I remember turning on the news the next morning and hearing about it. I think it was a Monday morning when I turned it on and heard that Dale had passed away in the last lap. His son right there too.
He was fending in third and just going up and down. And honestly, the racing, that type of racing hasn't changed very much, but the safety innovations have skyrocketed. And NASCAR has not had another driver die since that happened. They've had some others with some serious injuries. One head injury in particular, Jerry Nadeau, 2 years later. But they have largely, I'm not trying to underscore the people that got hurt, but they have not had anybody die.
Hey, you talk about his footprint, Dale's footprint here at Echo Park. They got a race this weekend. I imagine maybe they'll honor him somehow there. You going to be there?
I am. I'm actually doing announcing play-by-play on radio for Performance Racing Network, which that'll be all over the country. And I'll be standing on a scissor lift in turn 2 doing play-by-play for 2 races Saturday. Lord willing with the weather, by the way. I think there's a pretty high chance of rain. And then, of course, the Auto Trader 400 Cup race on Sunday. Boise, who drives the Traffic Impact Tracker, a photojournalist, he'll be down there with the sports department. With I think Reggie's going to be there, Reggie Chapman, doing the report.
Doug,
so, yeah.
How do you do play-by-play for a race? I did play-by-play for football in high school, and we got timeouts, we got bathroom breaks, we got it all. You doing 400 laps of calling this thing? I mean,
400 miles.
It's one continuous play.
It is, but you divide it up per lap. So the people in the booth, they alternate per lap, and then you call your set of turns. About 10 seconds. The next turn announcer calls theirs.
Okay.
And there are commercial breaks.
It's like the Masters. You got somebody at every hole.
Yes.
I like it. All right,
But
Doug.
I'd gladly go the whole time.
I know you would.
Can tell.
They're turning left. They're turning left.
Is that all they're doing?
They're turning left.
Is that all they're doing?
Oh man,
I see why Chesley picks on your rings.
yeah, Chesley likes Reams likes the Winter Olympics. Did you catch any yesterday?
We were watching a bit.
We got a big gold medal.
We did. Michaela Schifrin
Yeah.
winning gold this morning. Last night was a little disappointing with women's short program for figure skating.
Okay.
A little disappointing. Some of our American hopefuls didn't do as well as we thought, but they still got the free skate, so
There you go.
there's a chance.
Hey, by the way, the call for Alana Myers-Taylor on, I guess it was Monday now, getting the gold medal was Lee Diffie, who is NBC's NASCAR announcer. All right, I mean, he's done Formula One. He's done everything.
He does everything.
And he did the Noah Lyles call that the race got overturned, the result of, or whatever, in
Yeah,
the
that's
Olympics.
right.
He does everything. But NBC brought him in to spice up NASCAR, and we love his Australian accent.
That's right.
On the,
Well, now you
NASCAR
just need
broadcast.
Snoop Dogg out there at Echo Park with you, and you're
That
good
would
to
be
go.
a good fit. We had Big Boy there last year. We can get Snoop Dogg.
All right, Doug. Appreciate you, man. Have
You
fun
got it.
out there this
Thank y'all.
weekend. Hey, we're going to take a quick break. Appreciate you hanging around. This is 11Alive Plus from our streaming center. We're back in 2. I was telling you, it's been a busy morning here from the streaming center. Always tends to be about this hour of the day. Right now, we are watching the state election board hearing in Georgia right now. It's the first time this board has met since the big FBI raid at the Fulton County Elections Office last month. Let's listen in.
Mr. Chair, I would like to amend my motion to issue a letter of reprimand to Anthony Francis.
A second.
We have motion and second to issue a letter of reprimand, signify by saying aye. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing no opposition, so moved by a vote of 3-0.
So you'll get a letter to your current address.
Chair will entertain another motion.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to dismiss Zahra Hania because this person cannot be located. There appears to be no such person, and would suggest that this is a ghost registrant or ghost. I guess they tried to vote, they'd be a ghost voter. There's no point in sending a letter to somebody that we can't find.
We have motion to dismiss Mr.
All right, we now want to get to, I believe, Chicago, where the family of Reverend Jesse Jackson is speaking one day after the loss of the beloved civil rights icon.
Then they stand up for yourself, and his final mantra on keep hope alive, to let people never feel darkness, to know that God is the light, and to keep striving for something more perfect, and that God, when you put your hand in his, that he will definitely see you through. So I hope I answered your question. Thank you.
We'll hear from Michelle.
Thank you. Michelle Rutherford at NBC5 News. Oftentimes when people transition, you don't get a warning. You don't get a time to say thank you. You don't get a time to say goodbye. Yusef, I heard you talk about how he was stubborn until the very end. We know there were months in and out of the hospital since November. He's a leader for this world, but this is your dad. What was it important for you as his children to let him know? What was the message you wanted to make sure to send to him in this time?
Yeah, thank you so much. You know, it's a painful question to ask. It's something that we pondered a lot, and I'll try to be brief to allow more questions to be answered. But God gave my father some extra innings. His death did not come without warning to us, yet we're still painfully unprepared emotionally. My mother was wrong when she told me, Yusef, if you're not guilty, you won't feel kind of the emotional sadness that some people have when a loved one leaves. And I think I still feel that emotional sadness because I love my father so much. And he was, you know, he had a personal relationship with everybody he met. He was just that kind of fellow. I saw a lady on the news this morning who lost one of her relatives in the E2 fire. And she talked about how that night after the fire, he drove around with her looking for her sister from hospital to hospital, and he wouldn't leave until they found her sister. He was just that kind of guy. And so I think what we tried to do in the moments that we had with my father, one was to continue to extract the wisdom from him to make sure that we were prepared to continue the work going forward. And I will say, profoundly in his pain, he never talked about his pain. He never talked about his thirst, even after he wouldn't have a drink for 8 days. He never talked about his hunger after he wouldn't eat sometimes he wouldn't eat for 14 days. And he'd bounce back and he'd wake up talking about wanting to feed other people. And so what sustained his life in those last days was not his desire for more life, but his desire for more service. And so as I, in particular, take over the reins of the Rainbow Push Coalition, it is the patience to serve, the temperance to serve, the courage to serve, the making yourself one with Christ in understanding his mission to serve that he impelled upon us. And then I think for us, each of my siblings and my mother, we wanted to give him comfort, that it was going to be all right, that he has taught us enough to continue his work. And so with that, we thank him in so many ways. If I had 1,000 tongues, I couldn't thank him enough.
Yes, hi. If I could add this. We never expected to have our father past 39. Men of in his line of work didn't make it past 39. Medgar, Malcolm, Dr. King. My prom night, he said, I'm so happy that I have this moment because Malcolm Medgar, Martin didn't have this opportunity. So every opportunity that we had, and I think that all of my siblings can attest to this, we always said, I love you.
Yes, sir.
We did not go to bed angry. Well, we might go to bed angry, but we didn't carry grudges. He didn't like that. But if we could give you something as a takeaway, always tell the people that you love them.
Yes.
So when he was in his moment of need, he didn't need to hear that from us. He felt it, and we felt it from him because he never hesitated to tell us and show us that he loved us.
Okay, yes, hi. Evelyn Holmes from Channel 7. There's been a lot of conversation about the Reverend's legacy, and I'm not sure that that could truly be articulated through words, considering the expanse of it. But what I'd like you to do is if you could talk a little bit about what concerns you have moving forward, the work that has been done. You've already kind of alluded to that. How do you fill that void? How do we keep moving forward with his vision and the vision for equity and inclusion?
Well, thank you so much. I had the opportunity to speak as the co-chair at the National Prayer Breakfast, and you bring up the question of how do we, and you bring up and I had to ask myself, what would my father want me to do? Someone asked me, how did I get that position to be the co-chair of the National Prayer Breakfast? I said it was easy. Nobody wanted it. And so diversity, equity, inclusion has been a major part of my father's work. These are the on rails, if you will, the guardrails to fight against racism and to bring about inclusion, to make this a better country. And so I started my remarks off in the Latin. I said, imago Dei, verbium Dei. Once you spell Dei in Latin, it's spelled D-E-I. So we've never retreated from the term DEI. 7 days after the president was sworn in on January 20th of 2025, my colleague Congressman Cleo Fields, who's a protege of my father, we started the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Caucus. So it is something that we're unashamed of. We look forward to the debates on the United States congressional floor. It's something we cannot retreat from. Off of the voting floor in the United States Capitol, women only got a restroom in 2011. Wow. The first woman to graduate from the Citadel graduated in 1999. We can't say we've made enough progress on race and equity and racial justice. We've seen the effects of the DOGE cuts. They targeted African American women disproportionately. When we see the retreat on these programs, they are harming our health care studies, our access to academia. It's wrong to tell the Northwestern University that they're going to be held hostage and have to pay for their pay a $75 million fund to retreat. So we're not backing up, and we can do this in civil discourse. And so this is part of the work. And it's just not one man or one woman's work. Yeah. It's everybody that's felt challenged to speak up, speak out. We're against censorship of comedians. We're against the rollback of the racial and economic progress that we've made. We're going to have more time to talk to that. I just want to focus on the responsibility of a son. I am so proud that it's our loss as heaven's gain and the legacy that my father leaves behind. And I want every child that's listening and watching this that Reverend Jesse Jackson didn't start in this house.
Take your time, Jack.
That he would tell you Jesse Jackson's his third name.
My mind now.
For the children that have to be adopted and stepfathers and lives have to be transformed. We come from that lineage. We've been in the food pantry, and that's our calling, that's our mission, and that's what we're going to fight for.
We'll take two more questions, and I will tell you, I have a lot of talent, and we have a lot of talent in this family, so you got to probably call on who you want to answer the question. So we'll take two questions more.
LaDonna Ray with WVON 1690. Our condolences to the family, and we want to know, your father started so many things and he finished many others, but there is a responsibility that we have as a community to continue with his legacy. And no matter what the government is trying to do with removing and rolling back and minimizing, we want to continue to uplift and elevate. How do you propose that we do that ongoing, not while it's hot, but ongoing for years and generations to come?
Mrs. Jackson will be making some requests of the governor and the mayor of the city of Chicago on the appropriate ways to remember the legacy of Jesse Jackson and the work that he's done for our city and for our state. I'll let Mrs. Jackson make those requests at the appropriate time.
This is the wrong microphone. For the young people that are standing, watching you right now and are just learning maybe about your father's legacy, you talked a lot about the division that we are feeling in our country right now. How can they move forward and try to overcome that feeling of the divisiveness that we hear so much about and your father fought against?
Well, I think that Dad unmistakably was known for his discourse, and I think that we've spoke at nauseum about the fact that our generation, Gen Zers, Gen Alpha, millennials, have the responsibility to remain in discourse with one another, because if we're not in proximity to one another, we can't solve the nation's crises at this time. So I think I speak on behalf of Dad that we are urgently called to continue discourse and to remain in conversation, because our proximity is what's going to keep us moving forward in this time. He's always been proximal to all of you, proximal to all of us, and that's the work that our generation is required to do moving forward.
Let me associate myself with what Ashley had to say, but let me also be candid, because I'm old enough to remember, along with Santita and Jonathan, all of it. The caricature that you've created as a media of who our father is not the reality of who we know him to be. So what's happening now on social media is a more accurate depiction of the work of Jesse Jackson, and it's happening and occurring without you. That's the truth. Because institutional media has historically controlled the narrative of who Jesse Jackson is. You've made him to be more controversial than he is, than he was. You've made him less multinational than he is. You've tried to make him someone from a side of town and not universal. Today, the King of England has issued a statement about the life of Jesse Jackson and its importance. One newspaper is hung up on how many mayors he confronted. All of them were small by comparison to Jesse Jackson. He knew as they came and went that he was the constant. And our community could count on that. And so again, the caricature of who you think he was compared to the reality of the education campaign that is taking place independent of you is what's taking place. And as that figure begins to emerge in contemporary thinking, I'm confident that the people, my mother said it this way, history is going to be far kinder to Jesse Jackson than the life that he lived.
Last question.
Corley from National Public Radio. Losing a parent is so difficult no matter when it happens, so my condolences to you. And I think that family never asks people what they can do for them. So I want you all to say what Chicago and the nation can do for your father and what they can do for you as a family.
We can share.
I thought you were calling me up.
No, honey. We're just,
Tell me to look over.
we're all together here. We would ask for your prayers, because prayer changes things. we would ask that you keep your families together, because strong families build strong communities, build a strong world. We would ask you that you just love somebody. One of the things that we have learned on this journey is just how much love there is in the world. We will walk through airports, walk down the street, and people will touch us, people we don't even know, and they just say, tell your father that we love him. Tell him that we're praying for them. And they are from every walk of life. Yes, you saw President Trump give a nice tweet about Reverend Jackson yesterday, because Reverend had the genius of turning foes into friends. He said, you don't have enemies, we have opponents. But through it all, we must always speak to each other. We must keep the lines of communication open.
Yeah.
But that's not just something that you do in your politics. That's something that you do in your personal life. Believe me, we have a large family and we've got a lot of opinions.
Yes.
And sometimes we do not see eye to eye. But through it all, a lot of times.
Yeah.
But we love each other. The Bible commands you not to like each other, but to love each other. And our mother and father said, I've got these children. Everybody's not going to be right, but I'm not going to have discord under this roof. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to work it out, and we're going to get along. And if we can take that from here into the rest of the world, I think it will be a better place.
Thank you. Thank you very much for, I'm going to give a final thank you as we've taken our last question today. Alex Sims will be in charge of our media relations for the family group. I think Jesse and Jonathan and Santita each have their own media relations team with your congressional office and with your campaign office, Santita, I believe, with your radio show as well. But Alex will help to manage press relations for the group. If you'd like us individually or as a group, you can work with Alex Sims on that. I'll just offer a final thank you. We couldn't stand here strongly without the strength that you're displaying to us right now. I thank you for coming out to join us to celebrate the life of our father. I will tell you that strength and spirit is a two-way street. And so the stronger you are for us, the stronger we can be for you. I want to just offer one piece of an answer to a question that was intimated there. And I talk to my father about this all the time. His legacy will not be passed on through blood necessarily. He has trained us, and we will do the very best that we can. But men like Jesse Jackson and people like him, they pass their work through the Spirit. And you too can have the spirit of Reverend Jesse L. Jackson. So you ask us, what can Chicago do? What can the nation do? What can the world do for our family? And I offer you this. Learn the work and life of Reverend Jesse L. Jackson. Follow in the path that he offered. He was a trailblazer for you. He cut down trees to leave a path for you. And his path was voter registration and education, fighting to end systemic poverty, education. He left the tools for us to do the work that he was doing. Learn him, follow in his footsteps, and together we can make the world a better place. Thank you very kindly.
That's the family of the late civil rights activist, Reverend Jesse Jackson, addressing reporters there in Chicago and how they are remembering, for many of them, their father, their loved one, a man remembered by many Americans today as a great leader of our generation. All right, on this Wednesday, it is also Ash Wednesday, and we want to go to Italy, where we're not just watching the Winter Games, we're also watching this Mass from Pope Leo today in Vatican City. He is set to give his homily. Of course, this is the start of the Lenten season for those of the Christian faith, and a big 40 days for Catholics nationwide, certainly there in Vatican City as well, where Pope Leo giving his first Ash Wednesday Mass as Pope. Back here stateside, and we want to go out to Arizona and the latest in the search for Nancy Guthrie. Still no sign of the missing woman, the mother of Today Show anchor Savannah Guthrie. But have you heard about this? A Milwaukee group now stepping up with $100,000 in additional reward money. We are talking about Milwaukee Crime Stoppers, of all places. They've come forward with $100K that is on top of the existing $100K being offered by the FBI. So $200,000 in reward money up for grabs if anybody has information that can call in. I can tell you plenty of people have been calling in. Some 18,000 tips have already been submitted, but still no arrest. The sheriff says they are working through a whole lot of DNA.
So the glove is found 2 miles away. We do DNA. They get a sample. It's submitted to CODIS this morning, and there's no hits. That's not the end of it. We can submit it for genealogy or other things to be done, and those things are being looked at. But you have so much prioritization in all the evidence we gather. Sticking with DNA, the crime scene, for example, we have a lot of DNA still looking at. Some of that DNA is not as clear as we'd like it to be, right? That it's not just, oh, there's DNA, we swab it, we got it. Could be a mixture. Could be a male and a female. Could be a couple of males. Could be 3. So now we have to go back to our labs and say, can you separate it? And when you separate it, is there enough to still submit for Code S or make an identification?
Clearly a lot to the DNA process, and that glove that was found roughly 2 miles from Guthrie's home, the sheriff saying did not result in any new developments. We are watching some new developments this morning in the Colin Gray trial underway right now in Barrow County. The father of the accused Appalachia high school shooter. You see prosecutors standing there on the right-hand side of your screen addressing the judge right now. Perhaps the jury not in the room. They are just coming back from a short 15-minute recess. One of the SROs was taking the stand before we went to break. We are expecting to hear more from another SRO here momentarily. And you can watch this trial for yourself right now here on the 11Alive Plus app. Just scroll down and then over to start watching on our alternate streaming channel. We have that whole trial there for you, gavel to gavel coverage. Could be a trial that lasts for days. They're already through more than 30 witnesses.